1978 AD, 5872 AM. Israel invades southern Lebanon, which is a reaction to PLO killings of Israelis. Later in September, the Camp David Accords bring about peace between Egypt and Israel after 30 years of war and tension. Unrest, anarchy, and martial law are declared in Iran. Also in this year, the Soviets conduct a subterranean nuclear test deep in the earth that triggers an earthquake in Iran. 1978 saw 3 popes in office, this being 1440 years after 538 AD, when the papacy was declared supreme in Christendom. Pope Paul VI died and was succeeded by Pope John Paul I, who was poisoned to death for launching an investigation into the Vatican Bank. He was in this same year succeeded by Pope John Paul II. Egypt breaks off diplomatic ties with Syria, Iraq, Libya, Algeria and South Yemen, who remain Israel's adversaries. American Ron Wyatt discovered Egyptian chariot parts, wheels, axles, human and horse bones encrusted with coral in the Red Sea, providing photographic evidence that the biblical story of the Egyptian army chasing the Israelites across the seabed in 1447 BC occurred. Since this date, several other researchers have been to the spot and made their own discoveries confirming this early controversial find. College girl serial killer Ted Bundy is captured. 1. 20th century events. 2. Pole shift. 3. The end times. Prophecies of coming changes. 6. Discovered Noah's Ark. 1979 AD, 5873 AM. The Shah of Iran and his family flee to Egypt. The Ayatollah Khomeini returns to Iran from exile, and Iran is declared an Islamic republic. On November the 4th, Iranians stormed the US embassy in Tehran and took over 100 US hostages. Saddam Hussein becomes the president of Iraq, and the Soviet Union invades Afghanistan. By this time in Cambodia, Pol Pot's regime had exterminated 750,000 to 1.5 million people. Flooding killed 15,000 people in Morva, India. Over North America was seen the last total solar eclipse until 2017 in February. Amazingly, the isometric year for 1979 AD is 2017 AD. See 1998 AD to learn about isometric year dates. NASA's Skylab, 77.5 tons, on July 11th re-entered Earth's atmosphere and broke into pieces over the Indian Ocean and the desert of Australia. The Voyager spacecraft passed through the Jovian system, taking thousands of photographs of Jupiter and its moons. The Ixtoc-1 oil platform off of Mexico's Gulf Coast suffered a strange explosion, causing 3.3 million barrels of oil to leak into the Gulf of Mexico. Some estimate it was much more, contaminating the Texas, Louisiana and Florida shorelines. The blowout preventer failed. This same scenario would play out with the BP, British Petroleum, disaster in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010. An accident at 3 Mile Island nuclear plant in Pennsylvania threatened to release lethal amounts of radiation. 1. 20th century events. 3. The Poison King. 4. The World's All Wrong. 5. Life as We Do Not Know It. 1980 AD, 5874 AM. Soviet troops are in control of most of Afghanistan. Martial law is declared in Kabul. Afghanistan and 65 nations boycott the Olympics that are held in Moscow, Russia, in protest of the invasion of Afghanistan. President Carter of USA breaks off diplomatic relations with Iran after a US commando mission failed to take back the American embassy hostages in Tehran. The British SAS successfully stormed the Iranian embassy in London. This was exactly 500 years after 1480 AD, when the Russians were freed from Mongol control. In July, the Israeli Knesset declared a united Jerusalem to be the capital of Israel. A Zionist demonstration in Jerusalem on March 23rd ceremonially burned hundreds of copies of the New Testament. On September the 24th, Iraq invades Iran to gain control over the Shatt al-Arab waterway. The Iran-Iraq War would last 8 years and is a continuation of the ancient struggle between Babylon, Iraq, and Persia, Iran. By the end of the war, over 1 million would be dead. In May 18 to 19th, Mount St. Helens erupted, a long-dormant volcano, causing massive widespread destruction in a rural area of Washington state, filling the atmosphere with ash. This was the 360th year since the English Puritans, called Pilgrims, landed in North America. Exactly 204 years, 2448 months, since the Declaration of Independence created the United States. The number 2448 paralleling the 2448 Annus Mundi date of the Exodus disasters that also involved massive global volcanism in 1447 BC. A quake in southern Italy killed 3,000 people. Amazingly, a meteorite crashed into a red Chevrolet Malibu at Peekskill, New York, penetrating the trunk and gas tank. A smoking rock from space was found underneath the car in a crater 6 inches deep. The meteorite was the size of a football. This is exactly 60 years before New York City will be completely destroyed by the Phoenix Transit cataclysm. The US space probe Voyager 1 passed within 77,000 miles of Saturn. 1. 20th century events. 4. Jewish supremacism. 6. The Science Times Book of Natural Disasters.